What's up, guys? Pastor John here. So, many of you know pastors wear a variety of different hats. We wear counselor, friend, prayer warrior, auto mechanic, janitor, exegete, preacher, all kinds of different hats. Well, I'm bringing you guys along today with one of the hats I'm wearing. So, I got a phone call from a dear sister this morning that knows that I do canning. Me and my family, I've done canning pretty much my whole life. I have canned beans, carrots, potatoes, beef stew, all kinds of stuff. Tomatoes, peaches, what have you, all kinds of stuff. Been doing it since I was a little kid. So a dear sweet sister in the Lord called me this morning, said she had a few things of green beans and she wanted to can them, but didn't have the time, didn't have the opportunity, didn't have any of the other stuff, and asked me if I would help her. So I said yes, because I love the body of Christ. I love this dear sweet sister in the Lord. So I'm going to take you guys along with me in how to actually pressure can green beans. So we'll go through this. I will walk you through this step by step, and then hopefully this benefits someone. So I'm thinking if you give a man a fish, he eats for a lifetime, or he eats for a day. You teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. So this is me teaching you how to fish and walking you through how to actually pressure can stuff. It's not scary. It's really easy. And to be honest with you, if I can do it, you can do it. So come with me as we learn a new skill together, and it'd be just like you here in the kitchen with me. So, all right, cool. Let's walk through this. Let's walk through some of the basic stuff you need for canning. So I will walk through what these things are, what they're used for, and then basically make this not so intimidating for people. So first things first, what you're going to need. So canning is broken down into two separate things. There are low acid foods and there are high acid foods. High acid foods typically can be water bath canned. Basically, in your canner, you boil them like a boil water canner, like tomatoes, peaches, things like that. You put them in jars, and then those jars get boiled and processed in a water bath canner. Well, what we're doing today is for a low acid food, for green beans. So these must be pressure canned. So let me walk you through some of these things. So first in the back is a pressure canner. This is my old Presto that I've had for several years. This thing has a lot of miles on it. My personal favorite canner is a Americanner. I have a large 941, which holds 19 quarts in it, which is awesome. So within a pressure canner, you have your jiggler that goes on top, a canning rack, which is down in the bottom. So this is really important for food safety. Now, next thing, we have jars. Well, of course, you have to put your food in jars. The next thing is salt. I'm mobily canning today, which I'm at the church. So I brought some of my favorite canning salt. This is just the regular Morton stuff. So these tools and implements. For jars, you're going to need rings right here, and you're going to need lids. So for the lids, you cannot reuse lids. You can reuse rings, but you cannot reuse lids. Next thing over here is a bottle brush. This is a jar brush. I use this to clean the inside of jars because just like rings, jars can be reused multiple times. This jar right here, not kidding, came from my mother-in-law, which, see, this is an old school ball jar made in the USA. They've been making this thing forever. Honestly, with canning jars, the best place to get those is yard sales, and you can find them for cheap. If you're interested in canning, tell older people. Older people usually have these things by the crate just living in their garage, and they are more than happy to give them to you. But back here, we have a brush so we can clean our jars. And then we have this. You can use a stick. You can use a spoon. Oop, things are falling over. So you can, with this thing, this is a bubbler. This is not necessary. You can use a chopstick, anything non-metal to put in your jar. So the other thing over here is jar lifters. These things are worth their weight in gold. These are, honestly, I won't can if I don't have jar lifters. These prevent you from burning the crap out of your hands. The worst burns. I have ever gotten in my entire life is from canning. Stuff comes out at around 240 degrees and it will singe your tender little flesh faster than anything in the face of the place, like napalm. Now, on to one of the most important tools of canning. My personal favorite thing, this is a newer one. I have the older one too that my mom got me when I was a kid. This is the Ball Blue Book. The Ball Blue Book Guide to Preserving. This has everything broken down for you. Make sure you get proper recipes if this is your first time doing this, because this thing right here will save you a whole bunch of heartache. If you can read and you're literate, you can walk through this and make it so you understand how to preserve something. So for us today, this has all of your low acid foods, high acid foods, vegetables, pickles, all kinds of stuff. I think there's even a section in here on dehydrating and freezing. Now for us today, we are going to be doing green beans. And this right here is our recipe, if I can get this to focus. So we're going to be doing green, snap, or wax beans. So we washed our beans, we've snapped them. Now most of the time, I raw pack stuff. I raw pack anything I can, especially within a pressure cooker. So we bring our water to the boil. This will tell us processing times. So processing times is how long something takes once the pressure canner gets up to temperature, gets up to pressure. How long do we need to leave it in there? Now for raw packing, we see here filling, headspace, those kind of things, how much salt to put in there. Salt is optional with many things within canning, or many things that you can. Salt is optional. So remove air bubbles. That's what our little bubbler thing is for. Now, this will tell us how to process and how long it takes to process things. We come over to the second page, and it says here, if I can get it to focus, that we process quart jars, process hot or raw pack pint jars, 20 minutes, or quart jars, 25 minutes. We turn off heat, let the canner go to zero pressure, which is really important, and then we remove jars. We let them cool for 12 hours, and then we store them. So this right here, I cannot begin to implore you that this right here is one of the most important things of canning. This will keep you safe. This will keep you from making mistakes. I mean, this right here is super important. This is one of the first things my mom ever bought me when I was a kid and learning to can. So the first part of canning is the prep work. This is by far the worst part of this experience. And for green beans, that's really easy. Green beans, you snap them. You're breaking the green bean and you're prepping it. So for me, trying to hold the camera and steady everything together, for me, what I do is I just break this little tip of this thing off here. Let's see if I can get it to focus. But the little tip right here, the green end, I leave these little curlicue things on here, the tail end of the bean, and then I just snap them. I can do a whole bunch at a time if I had two hands. So you break them into little teeny weeny bite-sized pieces and focus, just like this. So what you'll do is you'll take your raw beans and you will stuff them in there till you get about 1 inch of headspace. So I usually use the rim right there as a guide. So as right here, you just take the raw beans, put them in the top right here, stuff them down, tamp them, however you want to do it. So this way you got beans in your jars. And then we will go about and fill these, get the bubble, adjust the caps, and we'll be good to go. Next thing we're going to want to do is fill our jars with hot water, with boiling water. I got water boiling over here in our secondary pot. So you're going to fill it up with water. And then once it's full, once you've packed your jars in, you're going to put this, a chopstick, anything non-metal, because you don't want to scrape your jar, in there just to get the air bubbles out. And then recheck. You're going to want to come up all the way to the rim of the jar. And then we're going to set our canning jars. So what we're going to do is take our lids, and then set our lids on top. Set it on there, and then just get it finger tight. It's kind of hard to do this one-handed. So just finger tight. So what we do now is load our jars in our canner. One very important thing when you're checking lids. So let me find it. So in checking my lids, I noticed something. One of the lids, this is a ball lid. See, we have to focus. This is a ball lid. Always, always, always check this little gasket right here. This little gasket that goes all the way around. And you notice right there, so I can get it to focus, focus, focus. You'll notice that not all of the seal is completely coated. So what that'll do, something like this could actually make it so the jar doesn't seal. So always check your lids. Check your lids, make sure that they're sealed properly. So this one's a ball. I mean, sometimes, all of these are kind of manufactured probably in the same like Chinese plant. So it's a good idea just to double check. So I loaded everything into the pressure canner. We have our pressure canner. We're going to slap the lid right on it. So for my pressure canner, check your manufacturer specifications. Trying to do this one hand with a phone is not the easiest thing in the world. Just click it and then close it. So this will vent. Just got done venting. So with your canner, you're going to want to vent the steam. So when you put your lid on, like we previously did, let it cook until it starts shooting out like this. I just put the weight. So once you start seeing it vent, you can put your weight on. And then we wait until this thing starts dancing and jiggling. This thing right here, this piece of the pressure canner, is called a jiggler. So what will happen when your canner is fully vented, the locks will come on to prevent anything from happening. The number one thing that people get scared of with these pressure canners is that they're going to explode. Typically, modern pressure canners, you don't have that problem because there's so many safety features built even into this one. This one's relatively new. Like, it's got a lock, it's got an emergency vent back here that in case something were to happen, that it would more than likely not explode. You would literally have to do a bunch of things wrong for this even remotely come to exploding. So once this thing starts jiggling, this will mean that we can start our processing time. For our beans, for quarts of green beans, it will take approximately 25 minutes. We are jiggling. Look at that. So this means we are at the proper temperature. This jiggler has the proper weight on it, which one, it comes with 3 weights. I've got one on there. Without one, it is 5 pounds. With the single on there, it's 10 pounds. So as it's moving, we know that currently this pot is at 10 pounds of pressure. So what I'm going to do is let this thing cook for 25 minutes, just like this. Some jigglers are way louder than others. This one is relatively quiet. So I'm going to go ahead and let this cook for 25 minutes. It doesn't have to go crazy. You don't want this thing going nuts. But just make sure it doesn't, or just make sure this thing stays jiggling. And we'll come back in 25 minutes so we can shut the heat off. Our 25 minutes is almost up. 30 seconds to go. Not even 30 seconds to go, like 20. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. That is off. And what you do, you just turn it off. You turn it off. You walk away. Turn it off and walk away. Just walk away. Walk away. Let this thing come back to natural pressure, where this thing stops jiggling and that little fella right there goes right back to its original spot. So we will be back when we're ready to pull them. Now that our pressure has subsided, we can take this off. See, there's no more hissing. There's no more anything. Be really careful when this gets open because there's still a lot of heat. Highly recommend opening it away from you. So one-handed. Yep, there's still a lot of heat built up in there. So we're going to take our jars and just take them out and let them sit until they are cool. I like to sit on a tea towel, something else like that, just until they're nice and cool. So in about 12 hours, these will pop. These will pop, and these will be canned. And then you put them in your pantry. And this right here is where the jar lifter comes in. Real stinking handy. Because the jar lifter is what makes it so you don't like burn the stuff out of your hand. And that, friends, is all there is to it. These little caps, don't touch these. These will come out and pop. And we're good to go.